Excellence lives here in northeastern Indiana. It's reflected in more than 200 nationally recognized degrees. It drives our Division I sports. It's alive in our campus life. Excellence has a name, IPFW. Around our campus, around the country, around the world. Excellence lives here. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
This is Arts Weekly. Arts Weekly is presented by the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design. IPFW, the energy of the arts.
Thank you for tuning in to Arts Weekly. I'm Melinda Haines with the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. Later in the show, we'll talk with Hope Wallace from the Wassenberg Arts Center in Van Wert. But first, I'm joined by Daniel Reuning and Tom Remenschneider of the Bach Collegium, which is the region's only early music, choral, and instrumental ensemble. The Collegium uses period instruments, and their concerts reflect period performance practices. They take great care to choose vibrant, resonant spaces for their presentations, where voices and instruments can best showcase the buoyant style of the Baroque era. Daniel and Tom, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting us.
It's our delight.
Well, wonderful. Let's start off by talking about what is the Bach Collegium.
Well, it's a group organized to perform the music of Bach and other Baroque composers and other composers in as close to a historically accurate way as possible, at least as we know it with today's scholarship.
How we can reflect back how it most likely was.
Right.
And why was this organization started?
Well, to present this music in this way, because really lots of people are performing Bach and that, but not anybody locally was doing the chorus and orchestra music using period instruments and using a kind of period, authentic style vocally.
So you were just filling a need that nobody else was
exactly
really doing. So, Daniel, you're the artistic director.
Yes.
You're the board president.
Yes.
And you're the artistic director. What does that mean to be the artistic director of the Bach Collegium?
It means, Melinda, that I have to plan 3 concerts during our season. Repertory that reflects Bach. We are a Bach Collegium, and we are a Baroque music ensemble, so Baroque music. But we perform also music that is pre-Bach, that has an association with Bach, and music that came after Bach. Classical, romantic, even modern music. It still has an association with him.
Right.
So I have to plan music that represents the vast array of possibilities that are available to us. Bach was a prolific composer, and we just have any number of choices. And there are at least 7 genres of music, types of music in the Baroque era that I like represented on our program. Sunday represents our finale, our season finale, with a concert at St. Peter's Church at 7 o'clock Sunday night. And at that concert, we are performing a portion of a Mass, which is a Baroque genre of music, and a portion of an office, a Te Deum canticle. The Te Deum is composed by a French composer, a 17th century composer, the most well-known French early Baroque composer, and the portion of the Mass is by Bach, and he is the most well-known late Baroque German composer.
So you've got other parts of your job besides selecting the music. What other things do you do?
Recruitment is the big one, yes. The music then has to be performed, and by whom? We normally have anywhere from 35 to 40 singers. We have 15 instrumentalists. We are limited to 35 or 40 because we just don't have riser space for any more, really. And it's better to have a smaller group just for ensemble purposes and rhythmic purposes, staying together purposes. Also, if we had any more, we would have more volume than the instrumentalists could match.
And I'm guessing that number too is the appropriate number in that period too.
That or less, yes,
okay.
that or less.
So a real huge choir wouldn't have been appropriate for the time.
Not be appropriate.
Then you choose the venues too.
And
correct?
I choose the venues too. Yeah. As you said before, we look for resident spaces, but we choose downtown churches which have those resident spaces, and they're as beautiful to look at as it is beautiful to listen to, the sounds that emanate from those places.
It's lovely to listen to a concert in so many of those downtown churches.
It's lovely to sing in that too. Where you don't have to force sound. The instrumentalists by the way, the instrumentalists that I recruit are mostly from Bloomington, IU there. They have an early music program down there connected with the Jacobs Music School, and several of the professors and grad students and graduates that are here around in the Midwest come back and perform with us.
Are there many who sing with you year after year?
Oh yes, yes.
Nice to build that. Now, Tom, as board president, what are some of the things that you do?
Well, gosh, I get to set up risers, don't I?
Yes, you do. That's a properties issue. I'm there cracking the whip because I tell them where to put it, which is very, very important. But he drives a truck, and any number of risers are put in his truck.
There's lots of just nuts and bolts kinds of issues, that you have to do, and board things like how do we pay for all of this, and how do we get people to help out and do the things that need to be done?
To do some development work and raise some funds.
Exactly.
Now, what is the period of time that, when we say the Baroque period, what does that mean in terms of years?
Really, technically, it begins, people will say it starts around 1600 and ends after Bach and Handel, but there's a great diversity of styles of music that happens in that time period. Like what you hear at 1600 is nothing like what you hear in 1750. So it's an ongoing evolution that happens.
And the composers, besides Bach, who you perform, what is it that each of them, bring to, the music that you're performing?
If I can start with that, I think all of the Baroque composers bring their own skill to the musical line, and also in the case of music with text, how they make the text come alive through their musical treatment of it.
Okay.
And that varies as we go through the period.
It does. I'll give you an example with what we're singing or performing on Sunday. Charpentier is well known for a master of contrasts. He contrasts forces that are small, forces that are large, different families of instruments. He combines differently for each one of the movements of his many movement pieces. He combines styles that are more homophonic or hymn-like with more imitative styles, such as the round, like round, row, row, row your boat, or that kind of thing, where one voice starts and another one follows, and then another one comes in later, and those kind of things. And then Bach builds on this, and he uses harmony and rhythm in order to symbolize the emotion and the meaning of words.
That just sounds like it's going to be a fascinating selection of music. And one of the things as I was preparing was learning about the instruments that are played. This is not the typical set of instruments that we would see at the Philharmonic. Tell me a little bit about the difference between the Baroque version of a flute and what most people know of as a flute.
Okay. Tom, do you want to?
Yes, well, the Baroque flute, for example, is going to be wooden instead of metal. It's not going to have a bunch of keys on it. It'll have holes, and the instrumentalist will play on those holes to make the sounds.
I think we've got a picture of it there. I think it's fascinating to see that.
Patricia Reeves, yes.
And the oboes have a little bit narrower bore, and also they don't have all the keys. They have essentially the same number of keys as the recorder, except it's vertical. we'll be using the stunning thing in this concert is natural trumpets, which are have no valves, and they play this virtuosic music that's called for in both of these pieces, just on the overtone series, and it's just fabulous to watch that happen.
Well, because these instruments are just constructed so differently from way back then, the sound has obviously got to be a different sound than what most people are used to hearing.
The string instruments, I mean, they'll look like violins, and they are violins, but they have gut strings, not metal strings. And the bows, a modern bow goes like this on the wood, and this bow goes like this. It's kind of arced the other way, and they play it higher up on the frog, so there's just more intimacy in the connection with each note. It's really, I say our performances are as much fun to watch as they are to hear.
So you have to come close. Come up to the first 5-10 rows so that you can see what's happening.
Well, and in the venues, and Sunday you are at St. Peter's,
yes,
right? And so tell me about this church and what makes it so unique.
Oh, it's old German Gothic. It's a lovely, lovely large church. The artwork in it, the Stations of the Cross that surround the nave, are beautiful hand-carved wood pieces that are just as beautiful to look at as can be.
The stained glass is pretty stunning in there, too.
Stunning. And then the altar piece up in front. So while you're surrounded by all this beauty, you'll be hearing beautiful sound.
And it's coming as close as we can possibly imagine it to maybe what the sound was back in the Baroque period.
Exactly.
Right.
And I would encourage people to get up and move around. We don't mind people between pieces or even during. Get from back to front to get an idea of how the different places in the room sound differently.
Well, we might
And
just have to get up and walk around.
So get up and walk around.
Well, let's talk again about when is the concert? It is Sunday, correct?
Sunday at 7 o'clock.
Okay. And St. Paul's?
No.
No, I'm sorry. St. Peter's. Sorry about that.
That was our last concert.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, and 7 o'clock, and people can purchase tickets at the door?
At the
Okay.
door, absolutely.
Wonderful. And what is your website in case people want to get some more information?
BachCollegium.com or
.org.
It would
.org.
be the other
Yes.
one, .org.
Great.
Bach Collegium. Or phone
Okay.
485-2143.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
While we get ready for our next segment, please take a minute to view our performance calendar of what's coming up in our area. You also can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll be right back with Hope Wallace from the Wassenberg Art Center.